All right, Tim, we are live. Thank you so much for taking out some time. I appreciate it.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, man, for sure. Let's jump right in. I want to know how you originally got started doing covers for Goosebumps. How did that come about?
So I had been doing book covers for a couple of years, and I had worked at Scholastic with them on a few book covers. No series work or anything like that, just some single one-offs. And I proved myself to be responsible, also consistent. So, when you turn the big deal in the illustration business is getting your work done on time
Sure.
and also consistently delivering a consistent product. You can't have a good one and then have a shitty one, and
Sure.
that doesn't fly. So when the Goosebumps thing came along, they thought I would be a good fit. I had done a little bit of I had never done any horror work, but I had done some young adult and kids books, and they liked my style, and they thought maybe it would be a good fit.
That's awesome, man. Now, I mean, one thing I wanted to know personally was, how much did you interact with RL Stine during this process?
Yeah,
If at all?
yeah. Well, that's funny too, because when I was a kid, or even when I was older and I'm getting into the book business, you would think that authors and illustrators would have meetings or continuing conversations, or at least one big meeting where the author tells you what they're thinking and then you go, okay, I get it. It's not like that at all.
Really?
The authors work with editors, and the illustrators work with art directors, and then the art directors and editors speak with one another. So there's a couple of layers of people in between the illustrator and the author. Funny thing or odd thing, or what actually ended up happening, was I had been doing Goosebumps covers for a couple of years before I actually shook RL Stine's hand.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
incredible,
so
man.
he was not part of the creation of the cover art. Um, he was writing the book at the same time that we
Right.
were doing the cover. He would give us the title of the book and a couple of sentences describing what it was about. And then I would work with the art director, and I would do some sketches. And then after the approval, we would move to the final art. And only after all the art was totally complete would they send him an image of what the cover was. So at that point, he would be really far along in his book, writing it by the time he saw the art. And I'm sure he could have said, hey, I don't like this, I want something different, but that was never the case. But he really just would see it and go, okay, that's what we got for a cover. So he really had zero to do with what went on the cover, what choices were made. He would just see the final product.
Wow, man, that's incredible. So one of my questions was that, if you got to read the book beforehand, but it seems like you had
Yeah, there wasn't
to
one.
go with.
Yeah, no book. This I the When we did Welcome to Dead House, which was the first one in the series, he had already got a jump start on that one. So I actually had a couple of chapters of that one to read so I could get a real feel for it. But after that, that was always just maybe a paragraph, usually a couple of sentences. Um, I always liked that better,
Sure.
because if he was way in front of me and he handed me a book, I would read the whole book, and then I would be really compelled to put all those details in that he is writing about. So as an artist, that's more constricting, because there's exact things that I want to get in there. When you give me a real broad scenario of, okay, this book's about this thing, and that's all you tell me. Now I get to let my imagination run and create those things and put them in environments where I don't even know what the environment is, but I get to make one up. So that's kind of, but that can be like skating on thin ice, because if I go off in some direction and that's not how the story goes, we've got a problem. So 99% of the time we did real good. We got lucky. I always painted something that was close enough to the story, and I never knew what the surprise ending was, so I never gave it away on the cover of the book.
That's cool, man. I love it. I mean, one thing I have to say is, I've been following these books since I was a kid. So I grew up in the 80s, and I've been reading these books since I was young. And, I guess, how does it feel to kind of give kids nightmares just from your covers alone, dude?
Yeah, again, didn't get into the business to be a horror guy, didn't get into the business to scare the crap out of everybody, and it just ended up that way. I was always happy that we were always on that fine line. Goosebumps is, they are a little scary, and for anybody who was 9 years old at the time, yeah, they were scary, but we didn't try to scare we weren't looking for nightmares. I didn't want letters from your parents telling me that you were sleeping in their bed and they were really upset with it.
I gotta tell you, man, A Deep Trouble, number 19, that one still gives me nightmares over here.
Hey, I can see it over your shoulder.
Yeah, man, that one still gives me nightmares. A 40-year-old man. I don't mess around. I'm still scared of that book. So
yeah, nobody likes that feet dangling in the water. We all know. All you need is one little piece of seaweed brush up against your leg, and you're gonna bolt out of the water.
Sir, I still have my original books, so I don't I don't mess around,
cool.
Man.
That's cool.
So how did it come about? I was reading when I was doing some research today, and how did it come about that a lot of your covers actually featured Converse sneakers? What was up with that? How did that come about?
It was something that I was just doing for my own entertainment.
That's cool.
When I grew up, so I'm a child of the 70s. I went to high school I started high school in 72, graduated in 77, and 73 to 77. And those were the best sneakers you could buy. They were the coolest. They were, I played basketball when I was in high school, and we wore them on the court. And they're great hack around shoes. They are terrible shoes for sports. There's no support. You blow out the sides. But we also thought they were cool. So whenever you saw a Goosebumps character on the book cover, I decided just to throw the cons on there because a couple of reasons. First off, it was kind of like, these are my sneakers. So I'm throwing a little signature item in there that I could relate to. And the other story is that I wore them all the time. But when I was growing up, we weren't poor, but we weren't rich. And you would get one pair of sneakers a year. That's all you're getting. And come late in the year, that original pair of sneakers has got a real stink to them. And my mom used to complain a lot about my stinky sneakers. And at some point she said to me, you're gonna, when you grow up, you're gonna have to get a real job, and you're gonna have to wear real shoes. And funny thing is I still wear my cons today. I have them right now. They're on my feet right now. And when I would buy, I would either get in the mail from the publisher, or I would go out and buy. I tried to give my mom a full collection of the Goosebumps books for her shelf. And she would always, again, very supportive mom. She'd go, "Oh, that's great. So cool. I love it." And then if those sneakers were on there, then she would roll her eyes, and then she'd go, "Oh, and there's those stinking sneakers." So I also put it on there because it used to drive my mom nuts.
I love it, man. That's so funny. And this is probably a hard question. I said that Deep Trouble was always my favorite, no question about it. But out of like the original 62 series, do you have a favorite of yours that always, that you always painted and you're always, like your go-to?
It changes. I have a handful, a top 10, however you want to say it. If you and I talk again, in a few months, I'm probably going to tell you a different one.
Sure.
Uh, it depends on my mood or what I was just, because if I see one a lot, then I kind of go, all right, I'm getting a little tired of that one. And another one will float to the top and you go, oh, yeah, yeah, I forgot about that one. Oh, I like that.
That's cool.
Deep Trouble 2 is a real good one. I like that one a lot. Um, um, I would have to say, and it's one that I've talked about often, is Egg Monsters from Mars.
Okay. I
Yeah,
know that
because
one.
when it was described to me, I was really having a hard time going, I don't know where the scary is here. It's just an egg. And once we got the crazy warped perspective in the kitchen and I got the egg to look a little disgusting, then I was like, oh, okay. So I was a late comer to that one, and that's why I like it.
I dig it, man. And what would you say was one of your most difficult to create? Anyone that, that stands out for you that was like, man, that one was hard based on what I got or, to do it or whatnot?
Um, in the second series,
2000s?
yeah, the 2000 series,
Sure.
there was one called the Invasion of the Body Squeezers.
Okay.
And what we did was we wanted to paint one painting that was, all the Goosebumps paintings are square. In this particular one, we were making it a double wide. And the idea is the left half would be on the first cover and the right half would be on the other, and trying to get everything balanced so that it worked cut in half. That's more of a compositional challenge than doing the work. The other thing that was bad about that one is, so all the paintings were done on illustration board with acrylic paint. There's no
Okay.
digital world.
Right.
So
Sure.
when you get done with it, then you have to pack it up in cardboard and you hand it to the Federal Express guy and he delivers it. Now, a double painting, so my usual paintings were 20 by 20.
Okay.
So that particular piece was 20 by 40.
Oh,
So
wow.
now we got a big piece there.
Yeah.
And I put a bunch of extra cardboard in there and wrapped it up for safety. And it got folded.
Ah.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
So the only thing that was great about it is it folded right in the middle. So we could crop that area off where there was a little deviation in it. It didn't get folded bad. It just got like a crease in it. But
Sure.
yeah, that was enough to give me a little bit of a heart attack.
Oh man, that's wild. Now, how long did some of these take? Were they, did you get them done in one day? Did they take a week?
No,
I
no, no.
mean,
I'm much slower than that. A finished, basically, I could run the whole creation of a Goosebumps cover in a week.
okay.
So, it's a day for sketches, maybe a day and a half. Then there's a little time for approval. Then I would do this thing called a color comp, which is a mini painting, so that I would have all my colors worked out. I'd only spend an hour or two on that. And then the rest of the time is creating the art. So 30 hours would be a real nice round number to say that's how long it took. But yeah, I could get one done in a week.
Wow, that's crazy, man. I love it. So, also, tell us about your involvement with the Goosebump movie. What was your role with that?
So the first Goosebumps movie that had Jack Black in it,
Right.
um, had heard about, we had heard about movies for years.
Sure.
There
Sure.
was a number of times where it's like, Goosebumps movie's coming, and it would peter out or fall through.
Right.
And in the 90s, there was talk of something with Tim Burton. Anyway, when they talked about the Jack Black movie coming out, a few years back, I was like, I don't know, this is going to happen. If we couldn't make it happen during the heyday, why is it going to happen now. It would be cool. I like it. But so then I got a chance to talk with RL. And he's like, no, it's really happening. I've seen some stuff. They shot this. And then I was like, oh, boy, I would like to be part of this somehow. Maybe movie poster or something.
I would have been epic.
So they shot the principal, the live action stuff. Then the following year, they started working on all the CGI and graphics and everything that wasn't live. And still, I didn't hear from anybody. And then they were talking about the release date being, October of that year. They were trying to get it to come out close to Halloween. And again, still hadn't heard anything. I was like, all right, well, I get it. It's not a book. I haven't done a Goosebumps cover in 20 something years. It's not that I wasn't upset. I wasn't mad. I just went, it would have been fun to come out one more time and, throw a pitch.
Sure.
And I got a call late in August of that year. And, it was one of those, as an illustrator, you get these things on a regular basis where we want to talk to you about something. We're going to send you a whole bunch of papers. You got to sign everywhere 52 times before we can tell you anything. Are you interested? And it's always like, I don't know if I'm interested. I don't even know what you're talking about. So did all of that. And basically what they were saying was at the end of the movie, there's a scene where Jack Black sees the invisible boy typing in the trophy case of the school.
Sure.
When he sees it, Jack Black turns and he screams. He morphs onto a Goosebumps cover.
Sure.
And that's how the movie ends, and you go to the credits. And they were trying to create this Goosebumps cover with Jack Black on it, and it wasn't clicking. And then finally somebody said, hey, why don't we reach out to Tim? He knows how to paint Goosebumps covers. So yeah, I got called in at the last minute. I got a chance to paint a cover with Jack Black on it in the Goosebumps style. And so at the end of the movie, only on there for a couple of seconds, but my artwork is there. So very cool. I loved it. And it was fun to be part of it.
That's awesome, man. Now, did you ever think that you'd be talking about these covers of these books like 30 years? You know what I mean?
It was fun enough. So I've been doing covers since I got out of art school. I did my first cover in maybe 1985, maybe earlier. And you would do them, and I only, basically was your family members would know what you did, because you'd have to go, there's, again, no digital world back then. No, hey, look online, or I can send you this link. I had to, physically go get a book and then show people, hey, I got a chance to do this book cover. It was way cool. And, oh, that's nice. Goosebumps then got popular in the 90s, and I got to come to your school and talk to you guys about it. And that was way fun, because that's the first time I ever had an audience of people who knew what I was talking about. When I would say, the blob that ate everyone, you all knew what I was talking about. Where, I told my, the guys my age who are, Yankee baseball fans, they don't know what, they don't know what cuckoo clock a doom means. So it was nice to have an audience who knew my work. But now when, it's so much more fun, and it's so surprising. No, is the short answer to your question. Talking about it 30 years later, absolutely not. But what is fun is, instead of you guys being 10 years old, you're now in your 30s. It's way easier for us to communicate. I can say stuff to you, you can say stuff to me. And it's way more interesting to hear from grown-up you how you felt back then. And it's incredibly flattering that we're still talking about it. We should have been over this forever ago. And the fact
Sure.
that it's still popular and people are still excited about it, and it's become part of the pop culture. They, you still see people wearing Goosebump shirts. They probably sell better now than they did back in the 90s. I see, RL just sent me some pictures. A guy who customized his Mustang with Goosebump stuff,
Holy
people with
cow.
tattoos. It's wild. It's
Yeah.
absolutely wild that this is still part of part of part of the makeup of things.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, no, that's crazy, man. I love it. And one more question I got, tell us about your website and how fans can kind of get prints of your work on there as well. I know I found that really cool. I was like, that's a good way for someone to own, a piece of
Exactly.
Goosebumps history. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, we jacobusstudios.com. If you can't remember that, just
I'll make
say,
sure to link it. Don't
yeah,
worry.
just do a search for the original Goosebumps Illustrator. That'll drive you there. We sell posters in two sizes, 9 by 9 and 18 by 18. I sign them all.
Awesome.
The cool thing about it is the posters run $21 for the small, $27 for the large, and $10 from every sale goes to purchasing food for the local food bank.
I find
And
that
it,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, and it's not, like I don't just hand them the $10 or give it up to some other entity. My son and I, we buy the food, we load it in the truck, we drive it over there ourselves. So 100% of your $10 goes to food. And yeah, it was. I started it during the pandemic when I started to see, those news reports where people who were saying, "Hey, I never had a, sit in line for food, but now I need it." And I'm going, "Well, I got something that I can do." And we've continued to do it. I think we're reaching our 3-year mark pretty soon. I literally just added 2 more posters. So Shocker on Shock Street and Attack of the Jack-o'-lanterns is now available.
Oh, that's fantastic, man. I love it. Well, listen, Tim, this has been a blast. I really appreciate you taking out some time, my man.
I
And
appreciate you reaching out.
no, man, it's been great. So I'll make sure to link up the website as well, so
Cool.
everyone
Thank you.
can have it there.
Yeah,
So
that Jacobus spelling, that's a tough one.
I got it, man. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. You take care.